I mean, should he come to my house? Should we sleep in the same bed? Should we be vertically in the same position? Should we kiss on the cheek or on the lips? How far does a kiss go?
Yeah.
There's
don't,
something
Don't
there.
talk to me like
Hug
that.
you
Don't talk to me
professionally.
like
After
that.
hugging me, don't do that.
Oh.
How was your day? Don't do that.
Hello, good people, and welcome to KIMBELEMBELE Podcast. My name is Tamanda, and I'm here with some amazing people. I'm just going to let each of you kind of introduce yourself, and maybe to break the ice, we can share what's the worst movie you've ever watched. Let's start off with Peter.
Hey everyone, my name is Peter Kitavi. I am a corporate MC and social events host and an entrepreneur. Happy to be here. The worst movie I watched was Alpha. I watched it on cinema. I slept half the time. Still didn't understand the concept. I still went to AMDB to look at it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
To this day, doesn't make sense.
Worst hour and a half that I ever spent.
I'm so sorry for that.
Let's go.
Right. All right. So my name is Yvonne Muranda. I go by Muranda mostly. I'm a creative. What else? Worst movie?
Worst movie?
I really can't say. I'm an actor myself, so
Come on.
I can't do that to my actors and my
Come
actresses.
on,
I
just tell
just
us.
I can't. Yeah.
You're mean.
I am not. Honestly, hakuna movie mbaya.
Why are you lying?
No bad movies. No
You're lying.
bad movies.
There's no way. I mean,
The one you're telling us off camera.
she literally... Yo, let me expose this girl.
I've never seen them before. This is my first time seeing them. Never.
Liar. It's okay. Aaron is my name. I'm also a creative. More on the technical field. Worst movie I've ever watched.
Worst movie.
Yo, sorry to the Kenyan producers, but there's a movie called Mob Doc.
Huh? Mob... What?
Mob Doc.
Mobok.
Doc, like
Mob Doc.
doctor.
Oh.
Yeah, Mob Doc. Yo, just check it out.
Already the name, it's not giving. It's sounding like mobile doc or mob doctor.
I think
What's
this case
happening?
put a lot of effort, but that particular one, I'm so sorry to... Probably it was the guys who were chosen to act it out who
okay.
didn't make it work, but
Yeah.
yo,
They were not
no.
paid.
They weren't, yeah. Or maybe they weren't paid. But I mean, thank you guys for sharing your worst movies. What's my worst movie? There's this movie. What's this movie called? It has like dead in it. Dead something.
Deadpool?
Yes.
Come on.
I can't
Deadpool is a
stand
classic
that
movie.
movie.
Why?
Deadpool?
Yeah.
Oh my
Why?
goodness, guys. I don't
Did I
know.
just
My
say
spirit
Deadpool?
doesn't. It doesn't like it.
But which? The one and only Deadpool.
Who? The character
Don't I know?
Deadpool or the whole thing?
The whole
franchise?
thing. Everything.
You like Wolverine?
I do. I like Wolverine.
There's no way you can like Wolverine and hate Deadpool.
Deadpool is just too. It's too dead. You understand what I mean? Like too dead for me,
Okay.
and I feel like I'm being called into death when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I just wanna like,
pulled into death.
yeah, you're being pulled into death, which is what we're not trying to do here because we're
If
trying
you
to be
say that,
pulled into eternal life.
What
Come
would you say
on.
about Ghost Rider?
I don't like Ghost Rider either. By the way, talk about it. I don't like Ghost Rider. Actually, do I like any movie that's about death?
No.
No, I don't. I think it's so morbid and unfortunate.
Crucifixion of Christ.
I know, and actually every horror movie, I also don't like horror movies at all. I mean, what? Am I trying to be possessed in the night?
No.
I'm not trying to do that. Anywho, thank you guys for sharing your movies. I think that kind of broke the ice a bit. But today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and I'm very excited about this topic. I think we're going to learn a lot of new things, but we're talking about, let's say it in 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Boundaries. Love that. Choir. We are choir. Kimbelembele Choir coming up, season 2. Yeah, so we're going to talk about boundaries, and we're going to break it down into what boundaries are, how we can set boundaries, when to set boundaries. And yeah, we're going to break that down a bit. What do you guys think about boundaries? Like when you think boundaries, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Violation.
Walls and violation. What do you mean violation? Like,
What do I think? I believe that it's if I have limits to
Yeah.
my own self, my own life, my own environment, and then you violate those limits,
yeah.
I need to set up my boundaries because I haven't spoken about the boundaries. I haven't
Yeah.
written them down or just telling you that I have this boundary, so you will violate my limit. That's boundaries to me.
You violate my limit.
Yes.
Wow. That's deep. Violations.
Just here.
It's surface. It's not
Yes.
that deep. But we'll get deep. We're gonna get deep. Okay. Walls. You said walls, Aaron. What do you mean? Like
Yeah,
by
don't cross
walls?
this line. Simple as that.
There's a line. Don't cross
There's a
it.
line, don't cross it.
This line is a wall.
It's
In
a
your
wall that
mind.
starts from, every wall has a foundation. Basically, I'm limiting you to a certain extent of how far you'd come towards my space,
Yeah.
be it mental, physical, spiritual, anything.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a wall, that's a line.
It's a wall.
Yeah.
Set on a foundation.
Yep.
Okay. How about you, Peter?
I'm from a different perspective. When I think about boundaries, I think about principles and values.
Principles.
Yes. I'll share more about it.
You share more about it. This is so interesting that we have different perspectives of it. Here we're hearing walls, we're hearing principles, we're hearing values. And I think for me, boundaries, whenever I think about boundaries, I think limitations. Because I'm like, if I'm on the outside of the boundary and someone has set a boundary for me, then I feel like I'm limited. I can't access them as much. But we want to break this down and really see, is there something good about boundaries and how do we go about this? So a couple of weeks ago, we got questions we had an event at Frontrunners and we got questions from people about boundaries. There were some really interesting questions. And so we're going to go into these questions a bit. Let's start with the most common question, which was boundaries in relationships. Sexual boundaries. I mean, should he come to my house? Should we sleep in the same bed? Should we be vertically in the same position?
Wait.
Should we kiss on the cheek or on the lips? How far does a kiss go? Yeah. Boundaries, y'all. Maybe we can share personally. What do your romantic relationship boundaries look like? Let's be vulnerable, y'all. Just share.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's start with the married one here.
The married one.
I'd prefer to go last.
You prefer to go
I'd
last?
prefer to go last. It's I think it would be better to hear out people who haven't crossed the line yet.
Wow.
Right.
Who haven't
Then-
crossed the line? Oh, I like how you put that.
Particularly because it would be interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot we pick in life.
Yeah.
But I'd want to hear the space that my good friends are in.
Peter.
Sexual boundaries, vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'll say something short. I know my weaknesses.
Okay.
So, yeah, that is my boundary. My weaknesses will guide me in setting up my boundaries. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you
Thank
know
you.
your weaknesses? Have you gotten to a stage where you realized,
Self discovery. I know myself.
you're like, jump scare?
I know when someone does to me, I know what I feel
Oh.
after they do that.
Okay.
You know? So when I know that, I know we will not go. Pow, 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 pow.
The lights start becoming dim all of a sudden.
yes,
Music
yes,
is, I don't know,
yes.
coming from somewhere.
So I let such things, guide me in setting up
Okay.
my boundaries. They're not absurd.
Okay.
It's not like don't hug me. No. It's just
There's
don't,
something
don't
there.
talk to me like
Hug
that.
you
Don't talk
professionally.
like
After
that.
hugging me, don't do that.
Oh.
I was your dad. Don't
Woo.
do that.
It's getting hot
Yes,
in here.
yes.
So calm down.
Yes.
What about you, Peter?
So matters boundaries, especially in the sexual side. I mean, in this day and age, it really doesn't matter if you're single or dating. you will. It's
It's
yeah, yeah. If you wanna fall, you'll fall.
oh.
Yeah, yeah. You said we're being vulnerable, right? But I think it circles back to what I initially talked about, principles and values. Whether you're single or dating, in a courtship, it's complicated. We don't know. He hasn't asked yet. Depending on the level where you're at,
Yeah.
I think when it comes to sexual boundaries, it's good to acknowledge, saved or not, you have sexual needs.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But what you do with those sexual needs is what I think goes a long way.
Yeah.
When I think about boundaries around sexual needs, I think about the values that have instilled inside you and the
Yeah.
principles that you're there to.
Mm.
Because trust you me, people around you will actually go with the flow of what you are. If you're the kind of person who people know, this person is, say, Rose, no offense to any Rose, but say Rose is dating and is in a beautiful relationship. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the boyfriend knows the limits to Rose and will respect this.
Okay.
If you have someone else, like, give me any name, any
Harmony.
Harmony,
Okay.
Harmony
Wow,
lady,
love that name.
right? Say Harmony is single and she knows her boundaries pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure any guy who approaches her and says, "Hey, what's up?" or
Yeah.
"I'm sorry, I dropped something," or whatever line they're going to use,
Mm.
they're going to go with the flow of the boundaries that Harmony has.
Wow.
If then you have now, example, Caliber Peter, who is single and has no boundaries, any lady coming to say hi,
Yeah.
Ushani convince. Ushani convince. Like let's. I think it's just it's parallel to the values and principles that you uphold.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like that. I think you've kind of brought up an aspect that we need to speak about, how boundaries are personal before they are relational. And I like that you put the fact that we all have sexual needs, regardless of whether we're around people or not. Even in our own confined spaces, we have sexual needs. And we're actually talking about sex in front runners. So tune in Sunday morning at 10. That's a plug. Here in ICC Nairobi. Okay. But yeah, so boundaries are personal. And I think for me personally, I had to realize that boundaries are personal. It's not something that, oh, I sit down with my boyfriend and I'm like, hey, let's set boundaries. It's very hard to set boundaries with someone and actually keep them, because it becomes like, okay, if you're aligning to the boundaries, then I will. If you kind of shake, then I'll shake with you. It's like it's like a tug of war almost. But then when I finally sat down and I said, Tamanda, at the end of the day, this is your life and you will answer to God personally by yourself on Judgment Day. That meant that I needed to sit down with myself and say, okay, these are the boundaries I have. As Miranda said, these are the weaknesses that I have. These are the trigger spots that I have. What does that mean for me to set boundaries for myself personally, regardless of who comes into my path? That means those boundaries are always going to be there and established. And so I like that. I think that's a very important thing. What about the married side of things? Or even, actually, you can talk about pre-marriage and then when you got married and how it is now.
Boundaries are important things, and I'd go back to from the onset.
Yeah.
Since you're young, there's a lot that curates us to do what we do, to behave the way we behave.
Yeah.
Whether it's company, whether it's how you're brought up, whether it's the environment you're in,
Yeah.
it mixes think, feel, and do.
Yeah.
There's no, they say, hang out around 5 people, they'll rub off on you, and you'll pick particular habits.
Yeah.
So when it comes to now boundary and all its limits or not, my take would be, if in dating,
Yeah.
first things first, you have to have some of these hard conversations that you're saying that it's a challenge. Yes, it is a challenge.
It's hard, yeah.
Nothing good is easy to discuss about, or good to gain. And talking about them just brings out some sense of maturity in protecting that union from the onset. Was it easy before we got, or I got married? No, it wasn't easy, because all around me, I remember we the clique we had. Whoa, these guys were all out kind of guys,
Yeah.
We're dating, let's happen, let's do it all.
Yeah.
Then it just happens that me and another chap were one of the guys who were like, no, we need to have our standards upright. And right now, years later, I'm older, I'm wiser, and I look back. Yes, it felt like I missed out on some things. But reality is how I was brought up, the things I was shown, and being in such environments that allowed me to see the extreme of things, how dudes were treating ladies, ladies were treating dudes, that two-way street, and choices that we had to make.
Yeah.
Do I conform, or do I just be the weird one and choose not to do some of those things? Of course, it will come out that, you're a weird person. You're not, you're not with it.
Yeah.
You're bad for a group. We had all that. And years later, looking back, I can tell you for free, we have a huge chunk who are living in regrets because of the stuff they did back then.
Right.
And this is not about being spiritual, but the effects of some of these things. Like a case I can give an example to, which is a bit extreme. One of the ladies who we grew up with and all that, now she's been divorced thrice, and this is in Kenya.
Wow.
And the main reason being she cannot bear kids. Because when we were young, she aborted, I think, 8 times. So they messed up a lot of things, and she kept it hidden for long. Years later, when she wants to be in this nice union, you've done everything, and you're like, no, I need to commit. I need somebody to be, my anchor point. And they find out that it's for all the guys she's been with, it's a huge red flag. And like, no. They feel like they're entrapped because, we got into marriage. I want to leave a legacy of kids. So why ain't you giving me kids? Only for them to find out there's this ugly side. That for the moment, less happen, less, including a season for, there's like a song that goes, no romance without finance. That is one of the things that also brings about all these issues, what we watch in media and all that. Having said all of that, the Bible actually talks about some of these boundaries that you'd have never thought about. If you allow me, I can read some of them quickly, so that we put it into perspective, or my thoughts to come back together. Okay. In 1 Corinthians 6:18-20, it talks about flee from sexual immorality. Yeah. Because this is a sin that involves your own body. And what is our bodies according to God? It's a temple of the Lord. So you need to protect it. We need to watch out what we allow, because this is not external factors, but what you're bringing in.
Yeah.
So we are tainting our altars. We are tainting what the Lord made, supposed to worship Him. And to be a bit careful about that. When you look at scriptures like Ephesians 5:3-5, it talks about, but among you there must not be even a hint of sexual immorality. Which takes us back to Job, who talks about making a covenant with his eyes not looking upon ladies, or all the script, a virgin lustfully. Which brings us back to what Jesus said. Just even, thinking it, or looking at a lady or a man and thinking it, you've already teleza dapo, and you need to make it's what we allow. And the last scripture, which I think for me this comes out as one of the most powerful scriptures ever, which is in a very romantic book in the Bible called Songs of Solomon.
Songs of Solomon.
That is 2:7, talks about daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and by the dews of the field, the dars of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. This is on the sexual boundary. Why? Okay, it's okay to feel attracted. No, we have all the kinds of love, philios, agape, God's love, and all these things. But when I see a lady, which is the same thing I lived by when I was young, no, you have to be peculiar. If you choose to follow Christ, if you choose to do the right thing, it will be weird to the world, but you stand with it. If I look at a lady and you see, okay, she's pretty, where do I allow my mind to go next? If an opportunity occurs, as Miranda was saying, if you do to me like this, my weaknesses, if you touch me here, this is how it goes. As a man, why would I do that to you? As a person first. Yes, you're attractive and all that. But why should I go ahead and, go the extra mile?
Yeah.
What intentions do I bring as I engage you? So most of these things, as much as we try and fight it, we say it's a bit tricky, there's all this attraction and all. It's all curated by the things that I said before.
Yeah.
Environment, how you're brought up, what your understanding of some of these things come to play. And that's what has been guiding me throughout before and now in marriage. Doesn't mean that it gets easier when you're
It
married.
doesn't get easier when you're married.
No.
Wow.
We're actually talking about this with Miranda briefly just before this.
Okay.
It's like when you're married, you have to now remember the fruits of the spirit, and one of them is self-control.
All right.
As Peter was saying, it's very easy. You can decide, you know what? Hey, who's looking?
Right.
Who will see this?
Yeah.
But you have to make those choices that, you know what? This is where my limits are. This is what I do. I wouldn't want, if right now I'm a dad. Actually, I hadn't said that before. I'm a dad. I have a daughter and a son.
Wow.
And my daughter is pretty. And I can see it. I'll openly say it. She's her teacher.
Oh.
And I look at her and I ask myself, years from now, the clique I used to have when I was young, the things they do to ladies, would I want that to happen to my daughter?
Oh yeah.
So that drives me as we have our sit downs with my daughter and we talk about some of these things. I think one of the weirdest conversations she's ever raised to me, she's 7 years old, is like,
7.
Dad, what is sex? And don't tell me the birds and the bees and all these things.
What?
It was a surprise.
Yeah.
But you see, these are things these kids are discussing
Yeah.
at their level. So it got me thinking about all these things. How do I help her to have healthy boundaries and self-respect? As Peter was saying, that anyone who approaches me, they know the limits.
Yeah.
Regardless, because men, we are men. There'll always be that alpha guy is like, nitapata namna ya kupenya.
One way or another.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sharing that wisdom to her so that she can hopefully sniff them out before they get to her.
Right. Wow.
So I don't know if I made sense for you guys.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying, Aaron. And I've just been here thinking that the different facets to what boundaries looks like. There's of course physical boundaries. That's what makes us put gates and doors in our homes, fences, and so that anyone who breaches that, if I jump to my neighbor's place, they have a right to harm me because they're protecting themselves, right?
Yeah.
There's mental boundaries, and that's what, when we were boys, just to give you a bit of context, when we were boys, we used to have this thing where we'd love to fight during break time. And it was the dumbest things that we'd ever do. And it would come from a point where, I know you don't respect me. Oh yeah, you don't respect me too. It is always said in Swahili. Wango mendarao sana. Bado mendarao. Akina nikawa ni mwanaume, cross the line. And someone will draw a line.
Yeah.
And if you cross it, it's a line. It's just a line that someone has drawn, either with a shoe or a stick, but it's
enough to set it
mentally
off.
says that you're crossing my boundary, and it will lead to a fight and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I think about boundaries, like to now on a greater extent, what we are calling in the context of our conversation here, it takes me to Proverbs 4:23. Guard your heart with all diligence, for from it springs out the issues of life.
Yeah.
And I wonder, why are we asked to guard? And our concept of guarding is protection, like put every barrier, every single thing to protect it.
Yeah.
And then from it, we'll ooze out the things of life, the matters of life. You're protecting something, but then again,
Still.
your life depends on it from that which you're protecting.
Yeah.
And I think it really goes a long way to just how I understand that scripture. It goes ahead to say, protect your heart with everything you've got, because out of how your heart is, that is who you're going to become.
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
And that's why I kept on circling back to principles and values. I don't need to keep on standing and tell Miranda, Miranda, I don't do this and this. I don't like it when you touch me like this and this.
Right.
Trust you me, I'm a principled person and I have my values. My values will do the speaking for me.
Yeah.
My values will definitely do the speaking for me.
Right.
If I go, let me use practical examples. If I know, for example, that one of the things that I value the most is prayer. And I really value prayer, and I really value worship,
Yeah.
and I value a community that is based on such. If I surround myself with such people, of course, they're going to strengthen and energize me to be a better Christian as I mold myself to be. And so if I go, say, I'm in campus, I'm sharing a room with someone and all, they look at my lifestyle.
Yeah.
They look at the songs I play. They look at how I handle conflict. They look at how I may do my assignments, how I respond to lecturers. They look at how I typically do my lifestyle, how I handle or react whenever girls visit our cubicle. They look at how I handle the guard at the gate. They look at how manage my finances. And then out of it all, they'll actually know this person, you don't do this and this. I don't know if...
No, yeah.
Boundaries are it's like an unsaid cue.
Oh.
You live with siblings and everyone has their own room, and there is type A, someone who has boundaries and they lock their room.
Right.
And they always walk around with their keys. And then in the same different context, but in the same home, there are people who never lock their rooms.
Yeah.
They never close their doors, but you never see a sibling go and take their perfume, go and take their shoe, go and take their shirt.
Yeah.
Because of boundaries.
Wow.
It's how you perceive it.
I like that. I think what I'm getting from that is, sorry, what I'm getting from that is how boundaries are more or less a lifestyle. It's like a subjective lifestyle that each and every single individual has. And it's not just like, oh, I will enforce the boundaries when the boundaries are starting to be crossed. When I'm in that situation where a guy is in my room and he's doing weird things, that's when I'll, where are those boundaries? I'll try and look for those boundaries. But rather, it's like a lifestyle. Every day you live life enforcing those boundaries in the different things you do and how you do them personally in your own space, but also with other people. I think, Miranda, I'd just like you to speak on we mentioned about, as with the example that you gave of your daughter, making sure that she knows how to respect herself. And you mentioned on values. Apart from just values that you have, but also kind of valuing yourself enough to set those boundaries. I think as females in this, space and in this world, we have to value ourselves, and that's where our boundaries should kind of spring from.
Yeah. And that's why some girls go through very, very many different history, in the dating world.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't even know who you are. You don't even value your own body. You don't even value your own self. You don't even see that you are valuable. I don't know why my voice is going. Where are you going? Come back. And that's why you find someone is in a relationship, they say no.
Yeah.
When someone, asks for sex and they say no, but at the end of the day, they do it because they don't see any value in. They don't see any value in their no. They don't see any value in their saying no. They'll think, oh, this man will just leave me because I don't want to have sex. Sex is the only thing that can keep me, or any other thing. It's the only thing that can keep them because they don't really think that they are valuable. But you are, whoever is watching this, you are valuable. Love yourself, respect yourself. Trust me, you are more than what you think.
Yeah.
Let me just loop in on that.
Yeah.
As she's saying, what you think. There are things we call triggers. When you look back to a majority of, in this case particularly ladies, I know it happens to men or boys, it's just that they're not more vocal like ladies. It's debatable, but I do believe a majority of them, for you to get to that extent, chances are something happened.